White people have never even known how to give birth, and history proves it.
Hey guys, welcome back again to another video. If you are new here, hi, my name is Cindy. Thank you so much for clicking to watch this video. So in today's video, I just want us to see a few videos from this white guy right here. Now, he has been making tons of videos talking about his community. I'm gonna tag him below in the comment section in case you want to check him out and see more of his videos. Now, apparently, he is calling his people out, like kind of exposing them. Now this video is for educational purposes only. It is not to bully anyone or harass anyone, but it's just to create awareness so you guys can see and know what is happening, around you. Stay with me, guys. Let's just see a few videos from him, and I would love to know what you guys think, if he is actually saying the truth about his community. Check these videos out.
White people have never even liked each other. And why would they? They're awful. White people love to act like they've built the most advanced, unified civilizations, but history suggests they've spent more time fighting, betraying, and resenting one another than actually working together. They waged wars of brutal conquest against their own neighbors. They divided themselves into endless class hierarchies where even the rich barely tolerated each other. Their royal families intermarried so much they caused genetic disasters rather than share power with outsiders. They built entire nations on the idea that some white people weren't white enough. Even today, their political and social divisions are so extreme that they can barely function as societies. At some point, we have to ask, if white people were truly the standard for human civilization, why have they spent history being their own worst enemy? White people spent most of their history slaughtering each other. The 100 Years' War, white people fighting white people for 116 years. The War of Roses, white nobles slaughtering each other for a throne. The English Civil War, white people fighting over how they should govern themselves. The Napoleonic Wars, France versus the rest of white Europe for nearly 2 decades. World War I and II, white people causing global destruction over their own internal disputes. Meanwhile, non-white societies built systems of cooperation. Many indigenous societies maintained peace through complex alliances and trade networks. African kingdoms built economic coalitions instead of destroying each other over minor grievances. Asian dynasties formed diplomatic marriages and power-sharing agreements to avoid unnecessary war. White people weren't building civilizations. They were just taking breaks between wars. White people's social hierarchies have always been built on hating each other. Medieval Europe was structured so that peasants suffered while nobles hoarded wealth, and they still fought amongst themselves. The Catholic and Protestant schism turned Christianity into an excuse for white people to unalive each other for centuries. Aristocrats in every European country looked down on merchants, who looked down on laborers, who looked down on beggars. Pure misery from top to bottom. Even within the same country, they developed regional and class-based divisions that kept them in constant conflict. They created strict racial hierarchies that excluded certain white groups, such as Irish, Italians, and Slavs, until it became politically convenient to include them. Meanwhile, other cultures built more flexible social systems. Indigenous societies often had communal governance rather than rigid feudalism. African and Middle Eastern cultures allowed for social mobility through trade, skill, and leadership. Asian dynasties promoted scholars and civil servants over bloodline alone. White people weren't uniting society. They were dividing themselves into misery. White people's royal families were too busy betraying each other to maintain stability. European monarchies relied on fragile marriage alliances that constantly collapsed into war. They intermarried so much they gave themselves hemophilia and other genetic disorders. Kings and queens were regularly assassinated, overthrown, and executed by their own relatives. The French, English, and Russian monarchies were all wiped out by their own people out of sheer hatred. Even today, European royal families barely tolerate each other, holding centuries-old grudges. Meanwhile, non-white monarchies maintain stability longer. China's dynastic system lasted for thousands of years, adapting to maintain power. The Ottoman Empire incorporated different ethnic groups rather than just inbreeding its rulers. African kingdoms often had check on royal power through councils and elders. White people weren't ruling effectively. They were playing a generational game of betrayal. White people have never even agreed on who counts as white. The British didn't consider the Irish fully white for centuries. The US didn't consider Italians or Eastern Europeans white until the mid-20th century. The Nazis reclassified entire groups of white people as subhuman when it fit their political agenda. Even today, white people argue over who is truly white based on ancestry, culture, and arbitrary rules. Meanwhile, other cultures didn't waste time on this nonsense. Most non-white societies recognize cultural identity over arbitrary racial purity. Many indigenous groups welcomed outsiders into their communities through marriage or adoption. African, Asian, and Middle Eastern civilizations absorbed new groups rather than excluding them. White people weren't defining race. They were constantly moving the goalposts. Even in the modern day, white people can't get along with each other. Europeans still hold centuries-old grudges against neighboring countries. Americans are politically divided to the point of complete dysfunction. White nationalist groups argue over who is pure enough to join them. Conservatives and liberals within white societies hate each other more than they hate their supposed common enemies. They spend more time fighting over regional accents and cultural differences than actually resolving their problems. Meanwhile, other cultures focus on collective survival. Indigenous communities emphasize cooperation over ideological purity. Non-white resistance movements prioritize shared struggles over minor differences. Black, Latino, and Asian political groups often unify around common causes despite cultural diversity. White people weren't creating stable societies. They were just keeping their infighting interesting. If white people were truly the most advanced societies, why have they spent history at war with themselves? Cope. White people have always had way too many dogs because they have always needed something to control besides other people. White people's obsession with dogs isn't about companionship. It's about domination. From European aristocrats hoarding hounds like status symbols to settlers using attack dogs to enforce slavery and colonization, white societies have long treated dogs better than people, as long as they were obedient. They bred dogs to enforce social hierarchies, hunting hounds for nobles, attack dogs for slaves. They prioritized dog breeding over feeding the poor, even when their own economies were in collapse. They weaponized dogs against enslaved people, indigenous communities, and their political enemies, because why do your own dirty work? They humanized dogs while treating actual humans, especially black and brown people, like animals. White people today pretend like their dog obsession is about love, but historically, it was about hierarchy, power, and violence. White elites have always used dogs to reinforce class hierarchies. In medieval Europe, dogs weren't companions, they were status symbols. In feudal Europe, hunting dogs were luxury items. Commoners were banned from owning them. Greyhounds, bloodhounds, and mastiffs were legally restricted to nobility. Owning a well-bred hunting dog was as important as owning land. It showed that you were better than the peasants. White elites treated dogs like extensions of their own power. Poachers, aka starving peasants, were executed if caught with a noble's dog breed. Dogs were bred to enforce class control. Bloodhounds didn't just hunt deer, they hunted people. Even in times of famine and war, aristocrats spent fortunes on their dog kennels because their dogs meant more to them than their subjects. And yes, the white obsession with purebred dogs comes directly from their obsession with racial and class purity. White settlers didn't just own dogs, they used them as colonial weapons. Wherever white people went, so did their attack dogs. Spanish colonizers used war dogs to terrorize native people. Columbus and Cortez didn't just bring swords, they brought mastiffs trained to rip native people apart. Dog terror was a colonial strategy, letting their war dogs feast on native peoples in public executions. They justified it by calling native people subhumans, but gave their dogs full military honors. Dogs were used to enforce slavery. Enslavers bred Negro hunting dogs specifically to chase, maim, and unalive escaped slaves. Bloodhounds and mastiffs were trained to track black bodies across plantations. Runaways feared the dogs as much as the slave catchers, because once they were set loose, it was over. Settlers also used dogs to control Native Americans. During westward expansion, U.S. soldiers used attack dogs against Native resistance fighters. These same Indian hunting dogs were later rebranded for police forces. While Native people were driven onto reservations, white people built entire industries around sport hunting with dogs. White people have never just been dog lovers. They have always used dogs to reinforce racial and class order. White people have always prioritized dogs over human lives. If there's one thing that white elites hate, it's helping the poor. But if there's one thing they'll always fund, it's breeding dogs. During the Irish potato famine between 1845 and 1852, British landlords let millions starve, while continuing to fund elite dog kennels. During the Great Depression, rich white Americans kept their purebred dogs in luxury, while their neighbors starved. During apartheid, white South Africans refused even basic education for black children, but spent fortunes on breeding and importing European hunting dogs. If given the choice between saving a dog and saving a starving human being, white elites have historically chose the dog. And this mindset is still alive today. White people will donate millions to animal shelters, but ignore poverty in black and brown communities. They'll cry over a police dog getting shot, but justify cops killing unarmed black people. They'll campaign for dog adoption harder than they'll ever campaign for racial justice. White people have always seen some humans as less valuable than animals. White people invented dog racism while pretending to be against it. White people obsess over purebred dogs because they invented blood purity in the first place. Eugenics, the science of breeding superior humans, was modeled after dog breeding. Mustache Man Who Shall Not Be Named was obsessed with German shepherds and promoted breeding programs for both dogs and people. White aristocrats wrote entire books about how mixing dog breeds was as dangerous as mixing races. Even today, white people assign race to dogs. Pit bulls, aka black dogs, are criminalized, while golden retrievers, aka white dogs, get a pass. Black dogs get adopted less from shelters because white people unconsciously associate them with danger. Police forces breed and train attack dogs the same exact way they did in slavery and colonial wars. White people invented racism, then applied it to their own pets. White people's dog obsession is an escape from their own social decline. They refuse to have kids, but will raise 3 Labradors like their biological offspring. They feel disconnected from community, so they turn dogs into their emotional crutches. They want unconditional obedience, so they choose dogs over humans. White people's dog obsession is about control, not love. That's why they ignore human suffering while spending millions on pet pampering. That's why they cry when a police dog gets hurt, but justify police aggression against people. That's why they advocate for animal rights while voting for politicians who gut social programs for children. White people treat dogs better than humans because they don't challenge whiteness. Dogs don't talk back. They don't demand reparations. They don't compete with white men for jobs, and they don't expose white privilege. Until now. White people don't love dogs. They love what they represent: obedience, control, and unconditional acceptance. White people's dog obsession isn't about love. It's a historical reflection of how they see the world. Some humans deserve loyalty and care. Others deserve to be hunted and controlled. And the best companions? The ones who never question their master. White people don't own dogs. They need them. Because without them, they'd have to face the fact that their entire civilization is built on dehumanizing everyone else. Cope.
So someone in the comment section says that she loved the fact that this is coming from a white person. Like this is some kind of history class. Like she hope and pray that other white people get to see this video. Now hold on, because some of them in the comment section were literally proving his point. Now on your screen beside me are some of these comments. I took some screenshots of comments. You all know how we do it here. So you guys can see what people said about these videos that we just watched. Okay, please, I'm gonna read out some comments for you, and I would love to know what you guys think in the comment section. Is he spitting? Like, is he saying the truth? Now, some white people in the comments were like, why are your contents about race? We are one. Like basically, that he should quit making the videos. And you all know how this thing works. Some of them are gonna report his page so that TikTok will take his page down just to shush him from making these videos, basically. And they did took his page down. They took his page down because loads of white people reported his page. Over 100,000 followers. Now, I just want us to see this stage from this black woman. And of course, I'm going to show you some screenshots of comments. But then again, he is back on TikTok with a new account, and now he has over 1,000 followers. So he says he's gonna speak the truth, that he has a lot to say, and people are invested in his videos and asking him to do more, which he says he's gonna do more videos. I just want us to hear from this black woman. Of course, I'm gonna show you some screenshots of comments. Stay with me, guys. Let's check this video out.
Baby, there is a man on this app who has stayed on the necks of his color redacted counterparts. And let me tell you, it warms my soul. All right, it just warms my soul. My favorite one so far is when he talks about how lazy his color redacted counterparts are, as far as, when it comes to slavery, factory work, all of that type of stuff. Because I actually Googled, because I like to, use my smartphone to continue being smart. And I was like, how long does it take for cotton to grow? It takes 6 months for cotton to grow. Stay with me, okay? So it takes cotton 6 months to grow. And if you want to get on a boat from here to West Africa, it takes 2 months to get there and 2 months to get back. So that's 4 out of the 6 months. Okay. All they had to do was wait an extra 2 months and then just pick the cotton. You would rather waste time, money, resources to go travel along rough seas. Okay. To go pick up somebody to do a job you don't feel like doing. If that is not the epitome of lazy, I don't know what is. That's why every single time a Casper concubine or a fellow cornstarch crusader calls us lazy, it ain't nothing but projection.
So because they took his page down, I do not have comments from the videos. But however, I have comments from the current videos that he's making, basically trying to repost the videos on his new account. So I'm going to tag him below, like I said, in the comment section. And also, he is on YouTube if you want to check him out, because people are asking him to post on YouTube, that TikTok may come back again for him. But on your screen are some of the screenshots of comments. You could see people, telling him that they were looking for him, and he told them that he got banned and all of that. I just thought to make this video to know what you guys think, what you have to say. Y'all know that videos like this, white people don't like it, okay? And for them to report his page, it means that he is spitting, he is telling the truth, and they don't want him to share this history. But yeah, let me know what you all think, guys, what you have to say. Do you know anything about this? Please let us know in the comments. And thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video, share, comment, and of course come back for another one. I'm gonna see y'all in my next video. Y'all stay blessed. Bye.